1 year ago today, we were getting hit with the ferocious aftermath of Hurricane Ida.
Yeah, more than 3 inches of rain fell in just 1 hour in Manhattan. Queens inundated. People were trapped and drowned in basement apartments. All told, at least 13 people died in the city.
A tornado touched down in Mullica Hill and South Jersey. Amid the wreckage and flooding in the state, at least 30 people died. And experts say it will happen again. Now, one of them is Elsie Clemons. She runs the business Force of Nature Solutions and has been a disaster consultant to NYCHA and New York's Division of Homeland Security. So good morning, Elsie. Thanks so much for being with us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. And we're seeing these storms, they call them 100-year storms happening every couple of years. So tell us, in your estimation, what has changed? And when you look at where we are today, how has it really changed from a year ago?
Well, you mentioned that we're at a year from this last storm, but this isn't the only anniversary that's being unfortunately commemorated. We are right now at 17 years after Katrina, and that's another anniversary that we're having right now. We are also here in Texas. We're 5 years post-Harvey, and let's not forget that New York City is about to head into 10 years post-Sandy. So unfortunately, what happened a year ago, we had warning signs dating back to Sandy when things really needed to ramp up for extreme rain events. And that opportunity continues to be demanded upon, that we make actions very quickly, and they've got to be really big actions.
Yeah, that's just it, though. The city's acted. I mean, they've gone after illegal basement apartments that were the site of death and destruction here just after Ida. There are plans to fortify downtown. Governor Hochul announcing a $41 million plan for the state, but we do have to do a lot more.
Right. When you're talking about an 8-inch rain event in 24 hours, that's a tremendous amount of water. So going after people with their living situations, unfortunately, is not going to solve the water problem that we're having. People across America are actually being devastated at alarming rates by extreme rain events. The hurricanes get the name, but the extreme rain events are really the things impacting people. So we're looking at having to manage millions of gallons of water. What can we do? Well, obviously, there are things that have to happen. Funding at the federal level that needs to happen. There are the things that the city is doing. We need places for all of this water to go. So we can look to states. New York has already started doing a blue roof system. Mandating blue roofs is an opportunity for a place to put a lot of that water. A lot of people have heard of green roofs. Blue roofs is looking at a system on the rooftops that holds back 3-4 inches of rain on every rooftop until the peak event has passed, and then it can release the water after the city system can maintain it.
Yeah, but I mean, the area that's for a building, though, right? Like an apartment building?
That's right.
Yeah.
So, there are going to be the big giant things that we're looking at, where to store water underground, under basketball, basketball courts. And I think with the things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, regular New Yorkers know that there is a disconnect between the policy that's developed at the elite level and the reality at the street level. And I think that we're often looking for things that we can do as individuals while we're waiting on the big giant infrastructure to happen, which takes way too long for the rate at which climate change and these extreme rain events are occurring. So I like to really focus with people on what they can do on an individual level.
Maybe this is overreacting, but should we think about maybe removing these buildings, these homes that are in those flood-prone areas?
The problem is that removing the homes are going to move them away from, low-lying areas, but the rain is coming from above us. And an extreme rain event, there's no way for the city system to keep up with those capacities. So, regardless of where we're living, these extreme rain events are going to continue to happen. They're going to get bigger, they're going to get more intense, they're going to get more frequent. And we've known that since back in Sandy. We worked on developing one of the world's largest stormwater management systems. And a lot of these solutions take so long to implement. It's the speed of implementation that we really need to be looking at.
Right.
So going back to what we can do at an individual level, again, it really is terrible to have to think like we need to be doing things. But you can think about putting a gallon jug outside of your window as a renter in New York and catching 1 gallon of rainwater as it's coming down during a peak event. And that doesn't seem like much at all. But you think about millions of New Yorkers individually taking 1 gallon of water off of the city system. That's in addition to the blue roof solutions. That's
Yeah.
in addition to storage underneath basketball courts. So it really takes all of us working together while we're getting the big infrastructure in place.
Yeah, but it's taken a long time for this infrastructure to be put in place. It's 10 years, like you're saying, from some of these storms, and it's and we're still seeing when a rain event happens, the subways become incapacitated because the water has nowhere to go, right? So speaking of the subways, because the homes are one thing, but the water obviously going to go underground where the subway system is. So what can be done there?
Again, we're always going to come back to millions of gallons of water.
Yeah.
So where do we put the water? We're talking about people dying in their homes, subway systems being shut down, everyday people at the street level, their lives being completely devastated and impacted. And the solutions are going to have to roll out much faster. We're going to be having to get innovative faster. We're going to have the solutions faster. Again, this disconnect between the policies that already exist, the policies aren't the issue. It's the implementation at the street level. And so what are the things that we can be working on doing at the city level that we can be building instantaneously? I go back to the blue roofs. It is an inexpensive solution. It's an easy retrofit. We've got states like Ohio that are already doing this en masse. So it's something that we can do lighter, leaner, quicker, cheaper. Those are the solutions that we need to be looking at because, a multi-billion-dollar solution that's going to take 2 decades to get constructed is not where we are.
Yeah.
So, it's going to have to be faster.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you brought up the gallons, that every little bit helps. The little milk jugs, every little bit helps. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Elsie Clemons, thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Absolutely.